Okay, so the lenses, they pop right off. They have these little pegs that hold them into place. So they have 4 little pins, that holds that lens on there. So here's the cobs. We're gonna take these cobs. It's real simple. They actually have these cob holders, and you just remove the screws on the cob holder, pop that off, and you can see the cob right there. So, and I will show you also how we can, so your cobs are still good. So we're gonna use the cobs on the new LED board. Just pop those cob holders off, set them aside. You can see here, boop. Now, let's take a look at that Cree chip. You can see here it says Cree right on it, right? There's a positive, and then on this side there's a negative, but it is marked. So, and it's actually really simple, because all we're gonna do is when we heat this soldering iron up, we're gonna touch the soldering iron right here on the contact point that's positive, and it'll melt this little piece of metal so that that wire pulls right out of there, because it'll be soft. So that melts it. The wire will literally fall right off. As soon as you heat that up, boop, it just falls right off. And then we're going to take these cobs, bring them over here, and we're going to melt that contact point and touch the wire on it over here, so it goes on the new LED board. So removing the heatsink. The heatsink has 8 screws that's held on from the front side. So right on the LED board here, we just unscrew these 8 screws, and then we will use them when we put the heatsink on the new LED board. Okay, so I just put the heatsink on the back side here, so you can see the hole on the hole there. There's just a little square spot. That's where the cob goes. But yes, I just put these 8 screws back in, and that just secures the heatsink to the LED board. Simple as that. There's 8 screws. Now we will go ahead and put the cobs on there, and we will touch the tip of the soldering iron to melt the, we're going to heat the contact point on the cob, and then we'll touch the wire to it. It's soldered on there, and you're good to go. When you take the cobs off your old LED boards, you just remove the screw from the cob holder like so. Boop. Right, and then pull on that wire a little bit and it'll pop it up. And then what you do, you can either snip it off, or you can touch the soldering iron right there and pluck the wire off, because we're going to have to get that wire off there anyways. But this is how I do it. I just snip it off just like this. Off the old LED board, boop, just like that. And we'll put them on over at the other side. LED board, and then we will put the cob holder on. This part is actually a lot easier than you might think, surprisingly. So the first time I did it, I was like, wow, that was actually really easy. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the old wire from the cob chip. So you just touch your hot soldering iron right on the contact point on the cob, and it literally comes right off. See? Boop, that easy. Okay. All right, we got all those pulled off. What I do is I put the chip down in the exact spot where it came up, and then kind of squish it around just a little bit there to kind of get it to stick. And then we just take the metal wire that's on the board, and we're going to touch the cob chip, the puddle of metal basically, and then we're going to push the wire onto that contact point. And it is a little bit tough to hold that wire into the exact spot, but it can be done. You just try to keep a steady hand as much as you can. See, there we go. So we have both of them soldered on there. So now that cob holder will actually go right back on there now. And then you just put the screws in it. you can see on the back the cob holder is slotted to fit the square chip, and it has a channel for the wire to go out. So you got to make sure you get that lined up when you put it down. And if you just line it exactly up with the screw holes, and just wiggle it around, you'll be able to get it right on there. Okay, and when you put the first screw in, what I do is I only put the first screw in halfway, and then, push the cob holder back down, make sure it's lined up, and the second screw I will put in all the way. And then we'll hit that first screw and it's cinched down, good to go. So now we can pop that board back in and we're all finished up. All right, and then we go ahead and we just put the board, and if that happens, no big deal, it all lines up. It only goes in one way, and you can see, because you should be able to line up those screw holes with the hole here, and you're lined up on the front end. So let's go ahead and I'll get that screw back down, and then we plug in the drivers back into the LED boards. You can see all the drivers here, and then the fans. That's really all there is, and then the control panel, right? So yeah, screw that down, plug everything back in. We'll plug the power cord in, test it, make sure it's good to go, and that's how you get your LED board put back in. The best way to put this back together once you've got your new LED boards put in is, because you have your lid, you're trying to reattach that. You take the Optic 6, this is the main housing part here, and just lean it up against that box that the styrofoam's in. And then the LED board you can just have, lean up against yourself so that you're holding it, and it makes it easier to get both hands in here and connect all the wires. Yeah, you can see that connector has a little clasp, so it clasps onto the connector. Well, these are just really easy to use quick connectors. We call them plug and play connectors. So they plug right in, they match right up. You take the 3 right along the top here. So it's that one there, that one, and also that wire. And that connects to the top row right here on the LED board, right? And then you have your middle row of wires that connects. That's the middle row. And then there's 3 at the bottom. It's those 2 drivers, boom, boom. And then that third driver there, boom. That connects up to this bottom row down here. Alright, so now we've got all these wires connected. It's also pretty easy because they line up pretty nicely. So we've got the plug and play connectors, and then we just put the 2 pieces back together, and then we will go ahead and put those screws in.